Welcome to Tough Conversations with David Wood, where play meets depth. We help teams and high-performing leaders like you to master your tough conversations so you succeed in your career and in your life. When we avoid tough conversations, we stay small. Teams stay disengaged, conflicted, and ultimately end up quitting. When we lean in and master our tough conversations, they become the defining moments that literally shape our careers, our relationships, and our lives. So let's dive in and master your next tough conversation so you can be the leader that you would follow. Let's play.
You know what? I wasn't being real. Like, what I wanted to say is have the balls to do it.
Nice.
But then I edited it because I want to be politically correct. Welcome to this exciting episode of Tough Conversations with David Wood. And this is new in a couple of ways. We're streaming live to Facebook and YouTube. Woohoo! And we've got Lisa Cherney. I'm about to read your bio, Lisa, but first I want to say welcome. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here. This is really, really fun. Happy Friday.
Right on. So I read through your bio before, and there really wasn't anything I wanted to edit in here. Lisa Cherney has been mentoring millionaire entrepreneurs for over 20 years. She's the host of the groundbreaking confession-based GFR podcast, which stands for Get Effin' Real, and creator of the 12 GFR commandments. In 2014, after 15 years in business and speaking on over 750 stages, 750 stages, Lisa got effing real and dismantled her successful seven-figure businesses as the juicy marketing expert. Lisa learned that just because something is successful and people like it doesn't mean you have to keep doing it. She always knew she had a low tolerance for not being happy. After all, she left a successful corporate career with companies like AT&T and Lipton at age 28. But now she knows her mission is to help soulful entrepreneurs, GFR, get effing real, so they can get out of their own way and help people and make more money. Lisa, 750 stages?
I schlepped to every podunk place to speak within a 50-mile radius of my house in Southern California. And then I widened it to the neighboring cities. And I just made it my mission because I love to speak. So yes.
Wow. Well, you've got street cred in my eyes.
Thank you.
Doing 750 talks and coaching millionaires. I want to let people know we are going to talk about Get Effin' Real, and you probably won't hear swearing. You won't hear the F word, but we're going to allude to it a lot. And Lisa, would you tell me why you putting the F-bomb in your branding? I'm guessing that's not an accident and that's intentional.
It's super intentional and so true to what we're talking about today about being real. And so the first expression of me being real and to an nth degree is the authenticity of my brand. But it was because it's birthed from a really true intention about helping people get out of their own way. And, I've been doing this for so long and mentoring 6 and 7 figure entrepreneurs for 20 years and over long periods of time. And I just kept seeing no matter how much sales and marketing and leveraging and systems and blueprints and formulas and things that I would teach them, there was always this underlying and really conversation that was in the forefront that prevented them from really creating what they wanted to create. And when I was deciding to kind of reinvent myself, because y'all, it's okay to do that because we are evolving, so our missions evolve, I realized, you know what? I really want to just focus on that front end piece, the piece that is preventing people from moving forward. And when I did some soul searching and some journaling, I realized that there were 12 things that I kept hearing over and over and over again, and advice that I kept giving over and over and over again. And that became the 12 GFR commandments. But just saying get real commandments, or for my show, just saying get real, it just was not strong enough. It wasn't urgent enough, and it wasn't activating enough. And that's right. A lot of what the F word does.
I like that. And I noticed we've got some viewers live. If you guys comment, we can see it and even throw it up here in the live feed. It's pretty awesome. So, feel free to say hi from wherever you're watching from. I like that. I've been talking about Get Real for a long time, and I've got an app called Get Real. And I don't think that I had the chutzpah. I've never used that word before.
Well, and I already used Yiddish, so we're already in there. I said,
you know what? I wasn't being real. Like, what I wanted to say is to have the balls to do it.
Nice.
But then I edited it because I want to be politically correct.
And that's our very topic.
Yeah, right. So I've wanted to say, like, sometimes I will swear, and I've got clients corporate clients, executives, and I'll say, "Are you offended by swearing?" Because I notice I'm editing, and most of them are like, "No, not at all." And I'll say it because I want that emphasis. So that's one of the things that drew me to you. And I got to say, I have respect and admiration that you were willing to go there, because I'm still a bit chicken. I want people to like me and approve of me, and I'm worried I'm going to lose a bunch of listeners. And I think that is our topic today. This is exactly what we're talking about.
Absolutely. It's true. And the authenticity can really weave a web through our life and our business. And I believe it creates a clog. And that's what the GFR mission is about. More impact, more money, more fun, because we are eliminating all of the static, the clogs, the hidden things that keep us small.
All right. So I invite you to challenge me personally on this.
Happy to.
on this interview. I'm hearing that not getting effing real is clogging my forward progress. It's blocking my forward progress. So what's an example? Would it be not using the F word when I use it? Is that an example of where I'm not effing real and it's clogging my progress?
Well, I have a great diagnostic tool for getting real, and it is these 12 GFR commandments. Mm-hmm. And number 3 is perfect for the situation. So number 3 is don't worry about being normal, proper, or polite. Now, each commandment has a confession question. And the confession question for number 3 is, where am I not speaking my truth? And it's just so it's so confronting. If that's yours, these aren't 12 steps. You don't do them in order, and you don't do them all. You read the confession questions and you see which one hits you in the gut. Right. And so when that one's the one for you, it just lands like shit. You kind of feel like you're being called out. And so, that's what I would say. That's where I would challenge you. I was like, where are you not speaking your truth? And when we ask ourselves that question and we have that feeling of like, darn it, we do feel like someone called us out. I feel like that means that we're ready to be called up and be authentic in a new way, even if it's scary.
What are some examples of some things that we might not be showing to the world? Some things we're hiding where we're not actually being real?
Well, many of us have had significant experiences in our lives that shaped us as human beings. And if you are a mission-driven person in your business or your life, you could be in corporate, but you're like, you feel like I'm walking my talk here. I invite you to look at some of those experiences that you haven't shared directly. Like maybe you're a recovering addict like me. Food was my thing. I was in a 12-step program for 15 years. That was one of my very earliest secrets that I was, I remember telling my current husband, who now I've been married 25 years, on our 3rd date, and I was terrified. But that brought us closer, right? So think about some of the things in your life that have made you who you are that you haven't directly shared, and pick something. And it's fascinating, just as an experiment, to share authentically about, an abortion you had, or, a debt that you had, or, so you were mean to somebody and a bully in high school, or, and these are the things that we talk about on my show. Because once it's out there and we start to normalize these things, it heals the whole freaking planet. Suicide and committing suicide and suicidal ideation is so freaking common that it scares me to even think about it. And I've gotten to know it more and more. So that's where I'm coming from.
I'm scanning my life as you say that. One of the things that drew me to you is I listened to a podcast episode, and guys, I recommend you go and subscribe to Lisa's podcast, which is Get Effin' Real. And you did a rant. It was like a 20-minute episode where you just said, this is me.
It was called Who the F is Lisa Cherney?
Yeah. And, I'll tell you, at the beginning, I was thinking, this is kind of self-indulgent. She's just really just talking about who she is. But then I started to really see the value for me, and I think for the listener, is that you were revealing things that a lot of people wouldn't reveal, and being straight about with your addiction and different things. And I'm like, I want to do an episode like this too, and say, I might call it pulling back the curtain, because we do a lot of identity management on Facebook and in our lives and just show the shiny bits. And you're like, no, I want you to know all of this. So I started scanning my life, and I was thinking, all right, my sister dying and how I shut down. And I've been dealing a lot with anxiety and depression for a lot of my life, and insomnia. And so I know a lot about that. And I've spent the last 20 years pushing myself to more and more transparency. Let's let everybody in with what's happening so we can be together with whatever it is. And I'm guessing, would you say that by doing that, you will attract the right people and repel the wrong people?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I mean, I had our colleagues, our trusted colleagues, really pushing back on me when I told them what I was doing and what I was calling it. And they said that, first of all, they said, it looks like you're trying too hard, like I'm trying to be salacious. They said, you're going to turn people off that you maybe you're meant to help. And some people were just really offended by it. And it did cause me pause, David, I will admit, but I feel like that was the gauntlet, part of the gauntlet that I needed to walk through in order to hold space for this mission. And ultimately I decided, like, it is authentically me. Like my husband says, it's part of your jersey, it's fun for me. And I knew that it was activating. I was being very intentional. It was not a marketing gimmick or anything of the sort. And then I realized that it was just pushing other people's buttons and their hangups. And that was okay. I was okay doing that. Wow.
I'm interested in the cost. I was drawn to Steve Pavlina years ago, and he's a wonderful man. He's got a blog, and he was getting millions of hits a month. I don't know what he's getting now, but he would share everything, it seemed. He was in a relationship and he got a sex slave, and he'd share about that. I'm like, dude, you're never going to be on Oprah. You do something like that. And then he gets nominated and voted into the Transformational Leadership Council, which, there's some conservative people on that council and some big names, famous authors. And I'm like, he got it anyway.
Right.
He didn't. I thought he'd be paying a cost of not getting into that, but maybe that's why they wanted him, because the guy was so transparent. So when I share about fatigue, anxiety, and depression, there is a cost. I've had a couple of friends and colleagues say, if I refer you to someone, are you really going to be able to show up? Because you've got these health issues. Are you going to be solid enough? And, it's a fair question, and I've gotten to address it with them, but it's like, I'd kind of rather.
That's the magic. So I'm going to interrupt you, because that's the magic, is that they asked you the question and you got to answer it. And in that moment, it was the most pure, authentic connection with that other human being that was referring, and they got to share their fear. And then you got to be 100% transparent, and you got to actually answer in the affirmative. And so I feel like this is actually the antidote to imposter syndrome, which is a freaking epidemic. So you don't have to pretend. You're not pretending to have all your stuff together. You get to say, you know what? Thank you for asking. I appreciate your sharing your concern, because that's an awesome moment, and then you get to really check in and be like, yeah, no, I think I can handle it. And if I can, I'll let you know. And now it's all copacetic, and no one is pretending on either side. And to me, that is freaking beautiful. And that's what creates greater impact for us.
That's so true. It did get handled. They said, we've got a concern. And I said, all right, I've looked at that. And I show up more than the average person.
Right.
Because some people get sick and they just can't show up. I don't tend to get sick. And even when I'm feeling really lousy, it seems I'm still able to show up. But where I may not show up is if you want me to travel around the country and fly to different things. That's hard for me.
Great. You know your limits, and it's so beautiful. to just own that. And of course, you're giving people permission. That's what I think the Get Fucking Real mission does. Is it gives people permission to be themselves, to say the things, to be the things. And then of course, if you're an entrepreneur, it's going to attract you the perfect people. If you're in corporate, or it's going to get you the best friends, like it's all around going to create a bubble around you of people that know you, and you will feel seen.
Wow. I love it. You're preaching to the choir. I've heard you say that turning people off can turn you on. Can you speak to that?
I mean, I think we really did speak to that, and it's such a fun way to put it, is that it's okay that there are some people that may be repelled, right? That will be turned off. And that's magical, because the converse is that it means you're turning the right people on in a big way. I used to say, a spoonful of your ideal clients is a bucket full of money, back in the day when I was doing all the webinars and doing all the launches, which I don't do anymore, because there is some potency and realness and profitability around attracting the right customers, the right clients, the right friends, the right spouses, and on and on and on.
So you'll turn some people off, you'll repel some people, but you'll draw the right people.
And you will be seen. So you'll be turned on because you will be seen. And, so many people talk about feeling like an imposter or being waited to be, found out. And, I talk about it so often with people. And I had an aha recently, David, that the more that we're willing to confess the things and come out of hiding with things, the more we're going to be seen. And then I feel like there's imposter syndrome is gone because we're not being an imposter.
And that sounds like a road to healthy self-esteem and confidence to me. It sounds like the path. The more we can, hey, see me, this is all of me, and then I come to terms with that as that happens. At least I'm seeing me, as Byron Katie would say.
Yes.
I'm seeing me, I'm being me, whatever other people do. I do want some people to like me and pay me. That'd be great. That'll happen. But I'm seeing me. I love it. Lisa, anything else you want people to know about Get Effin' Real before I ask them how they can find out about you?
I would say that the intention of my show is to constantly create a diet of motivation and authenticity and realness. So if you're needing that, make sure you have it, whether it's my show or David's show or anybody's show. You make sure you have a constant diet of a conversation that gives you what you need to know that you should keep going. Because I think sometimes we just gophers over our head, and should we even keep going? And so get what you need to help you keep going. And if this is resonating with you, definitely come check out the podcast, download the GFR commandments, because they're super fun, and that will really help you get into the conversation with yourself first.
Love it. And I realize I do have another question that I need to ask before we wrap up. I want to know, is there a limit to this? Like, when do you decide I'm not going to share that deep, dark secret that I killed someone or that I cheated on my partner, or I'm not, like, is there a time not to share when perhaps the cost might be too great?
Someone just asked me that yesterday on another show, and, my authentic answer, I believe, is that there isn't. And in the 12-step program, one of the steps is about sharing your secrets, and they say you're as sick as your secrets. And I totally believe that. So, I'm not saying to post it in Facebook, but for sure write it in your journal. First let it be in your head. That's the first step. Then write it in your journal, then maybe tell one other person, I don't think there is anything that we should ever keep to ourselves and not share. If we are wanting to grow and evolve. So that would be the caveat.
Wow. Okay. What just happened for me is it went from black and white to shades of gray. And I can see now that it's a matter of how far will you go with each truth? And maybe for some things, you're like, I'm willing to share that with the world. I will reveal it on Facebook. I think that's wonderful. There might be other things you're not ready to do that. And the cost might seem too high. So maybe you journal it. You start with yourself. And then maybe you'll reveal it to your partner or a trusted friend. And I've done that with some things. I will share it with a friend in context when we're related, but I won't post it publicly because I don't have the relatedness with that audience, and I don't want all the flack that comes from that. So you get to choose with each thing. I love that. You just helped me come up with a clearer model. You decide how far, and I think you're suggesting we're probably not going far enough with a lot of these things.
That is what I'm suggesting. And when I was talking about this on the other show, I said, there's extremes of like saying, everything and hurting all the people and being totally salacious. And then there's the hiding. And I feel like we're not even in the middle. Like, so that's all I'm saying is let's just begin to move the needle even somewhere in the middle.
Right. So subscribe to Lisa's podcast, listeners. If I'm not already, I'm going to subscribe. I'm making a note here because I need a jolt of this in my life and a reminder to continually get effing real. And
the GFR Commandments URL, I forgot to say that.
Yeah, the link.
That's gfr.life/12 as in 12C as in commandments. So gfr.life/12C.
Right. GFR, which is short for get effing real. GFR.life. It was interesting. I have a very similar URL, gfr.life/12C for commandments.
Yes.
Lisa, thanks so much for being on the show.
You're welcome.
You've been listening to Tough Conversations with David Wood. Now it's action time. Mastering your tough conversations will have a major impact on your team, your company, and you as a high-performing executive or entrepreneur. If you're ready, request a discovery session with me at playforreal.life so we can transform your team, your company, and you. And if you've enjoyed this episode, I would love you to help me spread this message of tough conversations in a very simple way. Just leave a public review at playforreal.life/podcast. And you may hear me read it out loud and thank you live on a future podcast. Now, let's play.